Howdy everybody, it's Amy here from Amy's Sparkly Diamond Painting and Cross Stitch. I did actually change the name officially of my channel. I thought I had done it once before and it didn't take, but this time I got it to take. So, I have a product review for you today, and this is from my favorite cross stitch company. This is from Painting Fairy, so I love their beautiful boxes here. It's a nice big box. So Painting Fairy did reach out and offer a really good discount on to choose one of a set of 9 different cross stitches of a certain theme, which you will see here once we unbox it. So I am an affiliate for Painting Fairy. I have the links below. If you choose to use my links below to just look around the site and or place an order, those orders will let them know that you guys are watching my channel, and also just clicking on my link will let them know that you are watching my channel. And I do get a small commission if you make any purchases using that link and my discount code, so I do appreciate that. That money goes back into the channel. So we're gonna see what's inside. So these are nice sturdy boxes. They do come shipped inside of a bigger box here. There's the bigger box. But I figured you didn't want to see cutting that open, so I slipped past that part. So Painting Fairy stuff is starting to get to me in about 3 weeks right now. I did have one order that was lost. I reached out to customer service. I waited about 5 weeks since it had last reported its location, which was actually in California back in mid-June, and that was the last I had seen anything on that package. I waited another 5 weeks and reached out to them, and they were able to check with their logistics company and find out that yes, indeed, they decided it was lost, so they sent me another one. That one is still making its way here. It landed in Chicago this time though, so they chose a different shipping method, so I should have that package coming here in the next week or so as well. And that one I'm excited about because it has fabric in it that I ordered, some Zweigart Easy Grid fabric, as well as 5 packages of their hand-dyed fabric, their Ida cloth, and a lot of other goodies. So I'm looking forward to that. But Painting Fairy is one of the premier companies, one of my favorites, for doing stamped cross stitch, and their website will sell their own Painting Fairy cross stitch, as well as tools and floss. I've done a video on their floss, really nice DMC equivalent floss. And then they have the big sturdy frames for cross stitch that I have shown you that my Pokemon cross stitch is on. So let's get inside and see what we got. So everything comes with a tool kit that is separate from your cross stitch kits. So they don't put the tools in every cross stitch, but you do get a tool kit in your package, which will have the needles and everything for all your cross stitches that are in the order. So let's see what we got here. Alright, so we have 3 of these bobbins. These are really good for parking threads. If you do parking with the more complicated cross stitches, you can wind your parked threads around this, and then you pop it like this to close it, and your threads are held securely. You can also wind your floss around these. Like if you have a skein of floss, you can wind it around there and pop it closed and write the DMC number with a Sharpie or put a sticker on there. So some people like to store their floss that way. I use it for parking threads, but I'm starting to get a pretty good collection of these. So I may consider maybe using it for some of my silk or specialty threads to store them that way. And we also got a nice pair of scissors here. I love these scissors. I've been really babying my first pair that I have, but now that I have a second one, I can use them in more than one place. I'll still probably baby my other pair just to make sure I don't cut anything that's going to dull them. But these have the curved tip, which means you can cut very close to the fabric without cutting it. And it's actually good that I have a second pair because on my frame with my Pokemon, I wanted to tie a pair of scissors to that so that they'd be real easy reach. And I didn't want to put my good scissors on, but now that I have a second pair, I can actually tie one of them to my Pokemon cross stitch. So this was in there as well, and I watched Nim Crafts do her unboxing of her version of this. She picked a different one than I did, but she got one of these as well. This is not normal to receive in these, so it's kind of cute and pretty random. But these are apparently collectible. She said on her channel what they were called, and I don't remember. I was going to keep track of that for my unboxing just in case one showed up, and it did. So these are pretty hard, rubbery plastic, but pretty hard there. And a lot of people collect them and like drill a hole and use them for keychains or phone little hanging things or zipper hangs. They're just really, really cute. So if you have cross-stitch project bags, you can put a little, one of those little, I wish I knew what they were called, but they have like a screw end. They're really small with a loop on the end, and you can put a little hole in there and screw one of those in and use it as a little hanger. Or you can just sit by and watch you stitch. So really, really cute. But I need to look up what the name is. If I do, I will put it up there. We also have the finger protectors, which normally I don't need to use them, but I guess I've been stitching a little bit, and this finger that pushes the needle through actually has a little hole in it, and I keep catching that same spot. So these will protect your fingers while you're stitching. I should probably use one of them. And then finally we got some needles. We have a couple here. These probably came with the main kit that are in there, but they were put in the tool kit here. And these needles, I love these needles. So good to see even more of these, because I'm pretty good at losing needles while I'm stitching. And these are nice and sharp. And I don't think it says a number. I think they're 26, size 26, which is the smaller ones for 14 count. Oh, there it is, even smaller, 28. All right. So very, very nice needles. All right, so usually these come in a package inside the box, so very well protected from getting wet, anything that might happen in shipping. So let's see, this is a full bag. So first we have the information about their floss. If you haven't seen my video on that or other content creators videos about painting fairy floss, they do make it themselves, and it is 100% cotton, 482 colors. They're Egyptian cotton. They do have the extended color range, just like all the DMC, and beautiful, beautiful floss that is very sturdy and does not fray. I love their floss, so I am working on a counter cross stitch project with their floss, and it's only 30 cents a skein before any discounts, so it is a really good deal. So we also have some more information here with the different types of stitches, and I believe they have washing instructions as well. So if you've never done stamped cross stitch and you're not sure how to wash it, you have the instructions right there. Oh wow. Okay, this is pretty cool. Haven't seen this before. I have mentioned several times that I like to use floss drops. I did not know they sold these, but I got a nice sample here of their floss drops. So I print a lot of mine on my own 3D printer, but these look sturdier, and I don't have to wait a few hours for them to print. Really, really nice. So these are really thick plexiglass here, and they have a hole at the top. This is for hanging onto like a ring or something, if you want to hold all your colors together on a ring, or you can tie them on a string, but that's what that ring is for. And then down here, these are two different holes to hold all your floss. So I like to cut mine into 1 meter lengths, and then I'll put those in the big hole, and then if I pull out a strand and start using it, but I don't use all 6 strands, I will tie that one strand to the smaller hole so that it's there ready for when I need that color next. Now, I'm not sure about these holes here. That's kind of different. But you can put a sticker on there to put your DMC number and or symbol, or you can put it down here. Not really sure what they have the holes in there. Interesting. So if anybody knows, let me know. But I got a whole bunch of these here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 different little floss drops here. That's cool to see. Especially if they're going to start selling them. I'll have to check on their webpage. We also have a sample here. And what I learned from my other sample is that they give you one skein of DMC to compare to theirs. So that is indeed what we have here. You see this one is labeled DMC and this one is labeled Painting Fairy. So you can do a side-by-side comparison of their floss. So really, really cool here. But you can also, I've done this before on my floss video. I have stitched with both of them. They have the same coverage, the same quality, and you can see here the way they look at the ends here. You can't tell which is which, so very, very good. And this was color 605, so you can see that the colors are an exact match there. Hopefully you can. Let me put the light back on. I had my ring light turned upward because it was reflecting on the shiny box. But equivalent colors, everything about them. Perfect DMC match. And only 30 cents a piece. So we do have the information in here. Anything more on this? Does it open up or anything? No, it's just letting you know about their printing and the history of the company and all that information. Oh good, I got more of these too. And I turn this around so you can't, oops, okay. You're gonna see it anyway. Oh wow, okay, that's cute. They have these and they do sell them on the website. These are completely different artwork than the first set I got. Beautiful, beautiful. These are the floss bobbins, paper floss bobbins that you can wind your thread around. And these come in sets of 100. So each page here is 20 and there are 5 sheets of them. I'm not going to open it so that these don't fall out. But real easy to punch and you can write the number on the back. But you'll get 5 repeated sheets of the same design. So they have several designs on there. You can buy them on their web store, but that's 100 different bobbins for a really cheap price. So very, very nice. And then they usually, at least at this point, yes, there is one in here. They like to give content creators, I'm not sure about regular customers, but they do like to give us these mini cross stitch sets. They do sell small ones as small as this for 99 cents in some cases. But this is part of their little animal series. They have several different animals, but this is the little pink pig. Isn't that cute? Cute little pig. These are good for stitch and chats. And I probably should have brought over my duck, because I did finish my little side up, the cross stitch part. I haven't done the back stitch yet. But these are fun to give you an intro to the Painting Fairy style. So this one looks like it was maybe cut a little crooked, but it is printed straight on, and they give you such a big border here that how it's cut doesn't really matter there, but they are serged. And this is the printing for Painting Fairy. Some people say it's a little bit light, but I've gotten used to it. I actually like the light printing on here because when you stitch over it, it doesn't show through on the thread, so it doesn't change your color. Sometimes with the really dark ones, I know I've talked about it in other videos, when you have really dark symbols or squares filled in, when you stitch a lighter color over it, it shows through until you wash it. So these are stamped, meaning the symbols are printed on there, but the ink is disappearing ink in warm water. You don't want to get the water too hot because you might actually bleed some of the floss and all that onto the design. That can happen from time to time, especially with the red colors. So You don't want to get the water too hot, but you just soak them in warm water and all the ink will wash away and you'll be left with just your cross stitch design. So this one is a 14 count, 50 wide by 52 high for the stitches. And isn't it cute? You can see how clear their printing is. I mean, look at those X's printed right there on those squares. So easy to read and so clear. And the other thing that I look for is whether the design is centered, and you can just kind of follow along the grid lines here on the edges to see that it is exactly centered. It's not printed crooked or anything like that. We do have a floss card here. Not a whole lot of colors with this one, but you'll notice for their smaller designs, they do print on cardboard here for their floss cards, and they go by DMC number on there instead of like 1 through 15, or the way other cross stitch companies do with the consecutive numbering. They go by DMC number, which is pretty cool. I've been kind of converting some of my own other kitted up cross stitch to the DMC number instead of the 1 through 30 or whatever, because I'm so used to doing painting fairy now that when I look to see what color is for a certain symbol, I look at the DMC number and then go to the card and say, oh wait, I need to go see what number it is on the legend, and have to go back and forth. So I've been trying to convert all mine to match this because I'm so used to it. So they do tie their floss in this neat little ribbon. We have a pink ribbon with this one. And we'll go over a little bit about how to read the chart on one of these smaller, simpler ones here. So here what is the color chart. This one shows 20 different colors here, but one of them is a blend down here. So these are really good for teaching videos, and also to teach friends and family and all that. Maybe take to the library to teach, because they try to show little bits of everything in these smaller ones. So this symbol right here, those are all the full cross. We also have some half cross stitches here with that symbol. And then we have some quarter cross stitches. That's where you come up on the hole next to the symbol and then poke down through the middle. That helps to do shaping a little bit better on cross stitches. And then we have back stitch here. And the one blend where you take one strand of each of those 2 DMC colors and put them together to do that symbol. So that's how you read that. And the pattern, we'll take a look at that. I'll give you just a little sampling of it. We won't show the whole thing there. It'll show you the back stitch in different colors to help you see what's what. And it's very large on there. So if you have trouble reading any of the symbols on the canvas, you can use this, and it's much larger. So I'm looking here. None of these are showing up as the quarter stitches here. See how these stitches show the whole symbol there? I'm trying to look for where one of the quarter stitches might show up. Hold on just a second. Let me see if I can find one there. There aren't very many usually on the designs where I have them, but it's going to be the smaller designs. So if you're worried about things like quarter stitches on big designs, nope, they're not on there. Okay, here we go. So you see in the nose there, we have half of this done in one symbol and the other half there on the other symbol. So you stitch just part of that square and go back down through the middle on the eye color, and then part of it on this outside color, and then you do a back stitch between the two, and you'll get really detailed shading there on both sides of that. So it's often used mainly in these smaller ones with back stitch to just give a little bit more detail on there. So not a whole lot of quarter stitches on there, but there are a few. And actually I said eye, but it's part of the nose there. You can see it done there where you have half the stitch in the pink and half in the black with the back stitch on it. So it's actually very easy to do. You just need a sharp needle. So that's our little one. Are you ready for the big one? All right. So, oh boy. Yeah, that is very big here. As I can see, we have the plastic for the floss cards, which is really, really nice. Here we go. So this is one of a set of 9 Sailor Moon. They call them tarot. So this one, True Melody, Shinozaki True Melody, Tarot of the Woodland. But they are Sailor Moon style. You can see the little outfit here, and loved the emerald green on this one. So there are 9 different choices for these, and I picked this one. And you can check some of the unboxings from the other stamp cross stitch creators out there, because they probably picked different ones. Hopefully they did. So I know Nim Crafts did pick another one. I can't remember the name of the one she picked. But I love the green on this one. Very, very bright emerald green. And all the butterflies. Look at the detail in that with the roses and the butterflies. We'll see how much of that comes through on the canvas. So we've got this gold here. So if I were to bling this up, I might add some metallic gold thread to some of this area here on either side. So this is, a lot of times I don't put the count on the pattern, because the pattern is going to be the same no matter what the count is. What's going to be different is the fabric. So they print the count on the fabric. So that's going to be what changes. So we do have a nice baggie here to hold all the pages. I like that they don't bind the pages into a booklet, because I can flip through them and only keep the page that I'm using for stitching nearby. So I don't have to keep the whole book with me. So there's the front, and I love that they do this too. This is one of my favorite things that they do, because some of the symbols may look similar, like is it green or is it blue? They do print this kind of key here. We've got 2 pages here. So, ooh, I see a number 118 on there. Oh boy. So they put all of the same symbol together with all the different colors for that symbol. And if you're not sure, then you can go through this and see which is which a little bit easier, because sometimes it is kind of hard to tell on the canvas without having the 2 symbols side by side. So on here you can tell that that one is indeed green, that one's a dark blue, and the red and the yellow backgrounds on a lot of these really do help quite a bit as well. So I love that they have those different colored backgrounds on there. It makes it much easier to tell the different colors apart. So that's what the first couple of pages here, but you can see how many colors are on this one. Whew. And then they have the regular key here, which goes in order from 1 to 129. Oh boy. So it looks like the first 56 here are single colors here, 1 through 56. And then when you start getting into 57 all the way through 129, those are all blended colors. And the blended colors are 1 strand of each different DMC number. Those will help give a nice smooth gradation from one color to another. So like this area, like right in here where it goes from dark to light green, if you blend with each color that gets lighter mixing with one of the previous darker ones, it just makes it look much smoother. So don't be afraid of the blends. They're actually pretty easy there to do. So lots and lots of blends on this one. So it's really hard to tell how many DMC colors there are, because some of these may be repeated over here, but others may not. We'll have to look at the floss cards to see how many colors we have, but it shows 129 different symbols on here. So that's why these sheets are so important to help determine what symbol is what. And here's an example. I'll just show a portion of the pattern here. So this is very useful to kind of help you check if you're not sure about a certain symbol. I do keep it nearby on one of the confetti heavy ones, the roses that I'm working on. It does help me when I have this sheet available as well. But you don't really need it unless your ink on your canvas gets wet and smears or something like that, and then you can refer to the chart. But this one has a lot of pages here. Let's see if we can tell how many pages. This says page 16. Yes, we start at page 1 there, page 16 here. So we have 16 pages of pattern, but a lot of them aren't full pages like that one. So let's take a look at this beauty. Oh, okay. Even cooler. You know what this is? This is the frame that goes with the mini animals. So I knew they had small frames for these animals, but I didn't expect, because I didn't order this one, it came free, I didn't expect to get the frame with it. But they included the frame. So this little guy will fit right in there. Very, very nice little frame here. Let's go ahead and take a look. It was hidden in the bag there, so I didn't see it right away. If you want to stitch this guy up right away. So you do have a glass cover on this. You do have a mat that's kind of built into the frame. Has a little stand here, and you bend these little tabs to pull it out. There we go. So you don't necessarily need this white part if your picture is a little bit too big there. Let's see. Oh yeah, just barely, but it does fit in there. So that's very nice. So thick here, it looks like, I'm not sure if it's wood. It does look like particle board type wood, but it is painted here around the inside, so that you get that white edge to it there, and it is glass indeed. So that arrived safely by being tucked into the floss. That was pretty clever of them. Cool, cool. We got a really nice stand-up frame to go with our little mini kit here. So that'll be more stitch and chatty things for me to show. So let's get back to this, and that's what I was hoping for. All those green colors. Look at how shiny that floss is. Pretty, pretty, pretty. And we do have the hard plastic here. So we have our little packet to keep it dry here, and this is vanilla scented. They have different scents. There. Can't smell very much with it though. It's not very strong. So we do have vanilla. And we have a big old canvas here. So let's take a look. Oh wow. They are definitely printing darker on some of these. I did talk about changing some of that, and I think this may be one of the examples here, because I've never seen this darker blue and green before. I might have seen it a little, I mean, my Pokemon is over 200 colors, so it does have some of the colored, but I don't think they're quite as dark as that. So that definitely makes it easier to see. But when you have over 120 colors, you're gonna have a lot of symbols. And so the only way to print that many colors is to give some of them a colored background. It makes it much easier. So look at how clear that is. Beautiful, beautiful. So we do have some solid stitching here for some of the background. See how easy that canvas is to read there? But we do have areas of confetti as well, as you would expect for a complicated design like that. But not everything is confetti, so if you're having a slow day and you don't want to work too hard on reading and switching threads and all that, reading the different symbols, you can just stitch away on some of these solid areas for a while before going back to the more complicated ones. So I did pick 16 count. Maybe I should turn her right side up so you can see it better. There you go. Is that a little easier? So I wanted to try their 16 count, and also I picked 16 count because this does have a dark background. So I know I've talked about it before. Anytime these days that I have a cross stitch that has a dark background like this, I'm going to try to pick 16 count, because I have discovered that the 16 count is still very easy to read. I'm not sure I'll go as low as 18 count, but 16 count, it's only 2 extra squares per inch. So it's pretty close to 14 count, but with the 16 count, with the squares being just slightly smaller, it means that that thread coverage for darker colors is going to be just a little bit better. So looky, looky, looky. Isn't that really, really nice printing? But yes, there are a lot of areas here throughout the base there that are going to be high confetti, especially with the flowers down here. I can see the roses through here, but even with all that confetti though, look at with the different colored shading on these symbols, you can still see what the different areas are on this design. So really, really nice printing on this. Definitely clear enough there, hopefully it'll zoom in, that you can see all the symbols. And her face, actually, if you see that, it's pretty solid here of one color except for the shading that's going to occur around her eyes and her other facial features there. You can see her lips, but there will be a little bit of shading needed around those, so that's where some of that confetti comes in. And her hair, we've got some solid areas, but also a lot of confetti there for all the different colors. And here's the moon right there. And this is the more complicated little gold areas here on the side that I thought about maybe blinging up with a little bit of metallic thread. That might be kind of cool, but I'll have to figure out which colors I want to put the metallic thread with like blending filament, cryonic blending filament. And the way you use that is you use one strand or two, depending on your thickness, of the regular color, and then one strand of the really, really thin blending filament, and it helps add a little extra shine to it. So this does have a nice large border, as they do, and you do have the legend here, the symbols printed along the side, and because this one has so many colors, it's on the bottom as well. But it will tell you the count on the fabric itself instead of on the pattern. And you do have choices on the website. So with this particular set, they had 9 different choices for the ladies with different colored backgrounds of flowers. And then they had, I think, 11, 14, and 16 count. I'm not sure about 18. I'd have to go back and check. But the stitch count on this one also shows up here at the top. It is 300 wide by 400 high. And we have all the information about the ink and the company and all that good stuff there. So I think their printing has gotten darker from this. So if you were worried about the light printing, check it out now. That definitely is easy to see. So let's talk about their thread here. These do use Painting Fairy thread. So we're going to open this and look at some of the colors. And the packet here will say 14 count, 16 count. It's because you use 2 strands for both, so they can use the same packet for both counts. So, oh wow, we got a blue ribbon here, cool, tying it all together to keep it neat. And sometimes I try, with the bigger ones that I've done so far, I try to keep that ribbon tied. As long as I can, I will just pull out single strands from this and try not to untie this and just leave it there. So we do have the purple. These are plastic, and these are done by DMC Colors. So I think each one of these holds 30, if I remember right. 6, 8, 10, 12, yes. So we have 30, 60, 90, let's see, and almost 120, but definitely more than what the 56 solid colors showed, I think. So we do have about 100, let's see, that was 90, 115, 119 colors on this. So those blends are different colors than the first 56 colors, so we do definitely still have a ton of colors with this one. But you can see all those beautiful greens there. got some of the golds and oranges and some of the dusty pink there for the roses. Another big area of green. Some off-whites. Here's a dark blue. Lots of that. And little bits of pink here for the roses. And some of the gold colors. This is probably what's going to be around the gold edges. So I would take one strand of this and mix it with some gold metallic to really make it shine. So that is the floss. Beautiful. Good quality. And there again is the image. So I love the printing though. And I've also noticed this fabric is actually a bit softer than what I'm used to for stamped cross stitch. It's actually able to bend. You might even be able to put a hoop on this. I typically stitch stamped cross stitch in hand because it is so stiff that it is hard to put a hoop on it. But this actually feels pretty soft for a stamped cross stitch. So I don't know if they're using a little bit less starch. Maybe their printing technique is improved to the point where they don't even need to make a really starchy fabric to be able to print on it. Or it could be that it's 16 count. That's maybe just a slightly different feel to the fabric, but it is noticeably softer, which will be very enjoyable for stitching. So love it, love it. So that is our beautiful cross stitch here. They run these full price, I believe, are just a little bit over $40 per kit here for these ladies. They have 9 in the series, all with different colored backgrounds and different flowers with them and different hair for the different ladies, and they do have the different names here. So I will put the link below to this particular product, but for just over $40 for such a large size here, and all this thread, the beautiful chart, to me it seems like a really good deal. And of course they have all different sizes and price ranges as well. Like I said, some little ones as low as 99 cents. They also have some in the $4 to $5 range, and they go up from there with different prices, different sizes. It just depends on what you're looking for. So you can always try out one of the smaller ones before you jump into a big one. But I'm gonna have to check out more of this animal series because they do come with these cute little frames. And there are several. I think there's like a raccoon, and I've seen some of the other content creators out there unboxing some of the little animals. So this is part of a series, and I may have to check out more of them because I love the frame. And then of course we have our floss cards here, our samples of DMC, and this is really cool. Well, the needles are cool too, but these floss drops, they feel pretty neat, I guess, because of the plexiglass that they're printed on. They're very lightweight. And our scissors, our needles from our toolkit here, and these, and our cute little guy here. So thank you, Painting Fairy, for all of these goodies. And I need to get started on this one. And if I've got a couple other videos scheduled to go up before this one. Today has been a big video day for me. So I may, if I have a little time, I may be able to work a little section of this here tomorrow and then post it here at the end of this video. So I'm not going to promise anything, but if there's more, I will have it snuck in right here and you can see that before I do the final ending. Hey everybody, just a quick update on this cross stitch that I was working on here. This is the Painting Fairy Tarot of the Woodlands, and I was trying to get into some of this gold up here. I went ahead and started in the top corner, and normally I do this with diamond painting where I show you a little test run of working on a diamond painting to check spacing and all that. It doesn't work quite the same way with cross stitch because it takes a lot longer to do and the spacing is defined by the fabric. Not really an issue there. We know the floss, we know everything. So I just wanted to show you the top corner here. Let me try to zoom in a little bit more, and you can see all the detail in this top corner. Now the gold parts start over here and on the moon, so I didn't quite make it there, but I do have this top corner worked, and I wanted to show you these actually are showing up in this. This was the original picture, and what you see here with those blue colors are these little streaks showing up here in the top corner that are supposed to look astrological. They're like stars. So you see the little streaks in there. You don't see the point. They're the lightest point because I left those open at the moment. You can maybe see there's a symbol. I'm trying to do this while holding my phone here, but there's a little symbol there. There's one there. There's a couple here. I left them open because I may actually, instead of doing the colors that are shown in there, I may put some white beads in there to give it more the look of stars. So that's one of the changes that I thought I'd try to do on this. There's only about, oh, I see 11 right there in this green area here of those little white dots. So I may do some of the white dots, and there are some in here that'll take a little bit more, but they look like constellations to me. So I was going to do the end stitch in these little tracks here with some sort of colored bead that looks okay with that. So I'm going to save that. And the other thing was the gold. I talked about all the gold colors on this, how cool it would be to use metallic thread. So we have some darker gold and maybe some lighter gold or yellow through there. I probably won't do the whole moon because that's a lot of stitching, but I did go into my stash and I found these. And these come from Hobby Lobby, actually. They are their Hobby Lobby brand, but these have 6 strands of gold. But I think what I'm going to do, instead of putting one strand of this with all the different yellow and gold colors, I think I'm going to go ahead and stitch it as is, and then stitch some of the gold over the top of some of the stitches that I want to highlight. And that way I have a little bit more control about where that gold goes, just to give it a little shimmer but not be too much. So that's my plan for that one. But so far, I think the canvas is great, the printing is great, and you can see there's a lot of areas here that are pretty simple stitching, and then some that are much more detailed in there with, there were probably, I don't know, at least 20 colors through here. I don't know if you remember quite what it looked like. It was fairly confetti like this, but that was because of those little streaks of color. So I don't think you can really tell quite how many colors are in there. There's the back, but that's a good thing because that means the blending is working correctly, because there were a couple different blends in there where you were blending 2 of the different colors of green in there. You can maybe see that detail in there, but like for example, I'm trying to do this while holding my phone, these colors right here. So you can see the 2 different shades there of green. So there was a lot of blending, so even though it looks like just green, there was a fair amount of confetti through here. But I was able to read all of the symbols, had no trouble with the printing or anything like that. So this again was a 16 count, and the printing looks great. So that's what I wanted to share to end this video. So I'll be back with more content. Thank you for supporting my channel, liking, subscribing, all that, and check out my Painting Fairy links below. They're getting new stuff in, or creating new stuff, I should say, all the time. Like every few days I go look and there's something new and different there. So check them out, use my discount code, all that good stuff, and thank you for watching and supporting my channel.